All right, why don't we go ahead and get started? We're going to call the order at 5:02 this evening. If we could stand for the pledge of allegiance, please. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. All right, thank you, everybody. We'll go right on to item C, which is public comment. As a reminder, we offer both in-person and virtual public comment. In person, it does have priority for comment. So we'll offer that first. If you're interested in providing comment and you are online with us, please raise your hand. When we do open it up to virtual comment, then we'll make sure you can speak. And then just a reminder that we do require name and address prior to comments being delivered. So we will open it up to in-person comments.
To me.
Yeah.
Yes.
I don't know, but I'm Marcus Fairweather, 12 Canada Lane. I was very excited to see the reimbursement rate from the state. It's great to get additional money. And I'm hopeful that the priority is to help offset the price escalation with inflation and then reduce the building and the project that was presented to the voters and approved overwhelmingly. We derived it 1-2-1 almost a year ago. And then any benefit that could come from reducing what we have to bond would be, in my opinion, the bonus of that additional money. So I hope the priority is to build that project as we presented it, and then whatever's left over is a bonus for the rest of us. As far as tax.
That's it for in-person, so we will open it up to virtual comment.
Not seeing any hints.
We're all set. All right, thank you very much. We will move on to item D, which is minutes. So that I have a motion to approve the attached May 11, 2022 minutes.
Second.
Any discussion? All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Are we good for, I just want to make sure we're good for one. We're all set. Okay. All right, then the motion carries. We'll move on to item E, which is correspondence received 5/10 to 5/23. We do have 3 pieces of correspondence included in our agenda item, or agenda packet. So of course, please, committee members, please take an opportunity to review those. Just a quick update on one of our items is still outstanding for response, which is E3. So and Pat's working on that just to make sure we respond to that question appropriately and with the right and appropriate level of detail based on the request. So I just wanted to make sure that we passed that on. All right, so with that, and I will also add in my obligatory reminder to make sure that you have the opportunity to communicate with us at any time using the contact form on the homepage website. So please advantage of that. As you can see, other community members are doing so, and we really appreciate that. It's a great opportunity for us to engage, answer questions, and really kind of make sure that we see and understand what questions are on the community as well. So it helps us with communication. So please take the opportunity to use that form. We will move right on to F, which is reports. For F1 chair report, I'm actually going to take the opportunity to pass this over to Chris Fagan really quickly. We have unfortunately left the 1928 Building Committee update off our agenda for this week only. We will make sure it gets added now that you are formally moving forward. But Chris, if you want to give us a quick update there.
Yeah, thank you, Meg. The 1928 Building Committee met today at 3 o'clock. The meeting consisted solely of a on-site tour of the building facility itself, from the the basement and heating units all the way to the roof. Our next meeting will be next Tuesday, the 31st at 4:30, which will have a more, I guess, fulsome agenda-driven meeting at that point in time. It was just a facility tour today.
Excellent. Any questions or thoughts? I think it's going to be very helpful to have that updated these meetings and all the lines of the game. All right, we'll go on to town council liaison report.
We have not met since the last meeting of this, so there's nothing to report. Other than our next meeting is June 7th.
Thank you. Board of Education liaison report, Sarah. Anything?
There's nothing to report that would affect.
Okay. And you guys will actually be not having, right, there's a meeting staff a little bit or something. Yes, and we will stop and it's all, okay. So we can adjust accordingly, you don't have to ask. Sure. Makes sense. Right. So we'll go right on to report number 4, which is the owner's rep report. Art.
Sure. So a few things. We had a couple of kickoff meetings last Friday morning with Joe Versteeg, our code reviewer. So we onboarded Joe and his team, as well as Richard Dawson with the structural steel peer review team. Those finalized contracts are going back to them this evening. Thank you very much for those documents today. The working group met last week and we talked about a lot of different items. One of them was the updated pre-construction schedule. Well, you'll hear from Mark Moenji. He'll give you a few updates on some of the things as we've been working that pre-construction schedule to make sure that we can give TSKP enough time to complete the construction documents in as much as possible so that they're done when we go to the state for our PCR meeting scheduled later in July. We'll hear from Moenji as well on the ad services proposal for structural steel pre-detailing that was presented and reviewed by the working group as well. We were also asked to put together a value engineering, value management alternate list, grand list. So it gives us sort of historical data from when we started this project till today and all of the items that have changed. We reviewed that list at length. We included some of the potential alternates for consideration, and we had just one open item that we show in that list. That list is attached to your, thank you, Devin's got it pulled up there. There's one open item, which is the motorized partition at the gym. So the working group will continue to review that item, but other than that, the rest of those items have either been rejected or accepted. And then finally, we finally saw a presentation by TSKP of the interior renderings. Reviewed those. Those are also attached to your packet, and we'll see those from Richard today as well. My report.
Oh, I'm sorry, Michael, go ahead.
Yeah, I have a quick question, and since I don't have the paperwork in front of me right now, did we receive any drawings or any highlights as to where reduction in glass and what that would look like on both an interior and an exterior rendering or specification based upon some of the suggested BE adjustments?
The one that was already accepted, we did see the renderings last time, I think.
Yes.
It's in the
Yeah, they're
minutes.
included in your package.
Yes, at the last meeting, we did present some samplings from our drawings showing the alternates that showed before and after. So and we're proceeding with the afters. So I believe what I showed you was the extent of the exterior glass, some sample elevations, the extent of the interior glass, the reductions that were made, the reductions in skylights, for example, and the alternative for the corridor walls, ground-based masonry versus wallboard with wall covering. So I did illustrate that at the last minute. Yes, those.
Yeah, it's actually part of the agenda packet last time. Does that help, Michael? I know you can't see it at the moment, but it's here waiting for it.
because Kevin's got it up. It's part of the minutes from last meeting.
Yeah.
The packet.
I think Mike was driving, that's why. I don't know if he's on his way here. That makes sense, everybody, consistent with what we talked about last time. Any other questions or? Nothing else from Mark? All right, we will move on to architect report.
Great, thank you very much. Yesterday, at the end of the day, we submitted to ONG what we call the pricing set. It's, the documents have grown quite a bit. And so I think we have 4 volumes of drawings, where the last time we submitted to CAT and Wagon, we submitted 3 volumes of drawings plus specifications. Those were submitted in PDF form. Those can be available to the committee as well, but the purpose is to have ONG now do a pricing review of this set of drawings. And so they should see in that set the alternates that we've identified, as well as the BE items that we've identified. And we'll be working with ONG if there are any clarifications that are necessary. So we did that task. We do have some upcoming tasks. We're going to have a Connecticut High Performance Schools kickoff meeting with consultants. Sam Kilpatrick should be there representing the district. The purpose of that is to fulfill the statutory requirements for projects that are above a certain dollar amount to meet Connecticut high performance standards. A number of years ago, Connecticut initiated this standard to save energy, conserve water. All of the issues that are identified in the LEED score sheet, for those of you who may be familiar with LEED identifies certain items that are energy efficient and water conserving, for example. So rather than using the LEED score sheet, the state of Connecticut implemented its own score sheet, which is similar. So we're going to have a kickoff meeting to make sure that all of the consultants have identified the items that are brought up in that score sheet. And the reason Sam needs to be there because there's a commitment on the part of the owner for maintenance going forward, such as air quality that is affected by the types of cleaning products that are used. So that's going to happen on June 2nd. And then we will have a follow-up meeting with PE and athletics to review the details of the gym. So those are the upcoming meetings. We did include in the packet for the committee's benefit the illustrations that we prepared that show the interior of the building, various views of the interior. So I'm going to ask Devin to scroll through the plans as I describe them. You've seen this floor plan before. It has been adjusted to reflect the current state of the design. You see those arrows that are there. You can see the red arrows that show the vantage points from which I'm going to show you the illustrations. The first of which is the entry, that arrow near the entrance to the building, a view looking north of the atrium space. And then I'll show you some the music room, cafeteria. There'll be a couple of renderings in the gymnasium, one rendering in the gymnasium. Next slide. On the second floor, there's an area there that's with some arrows that shows what we're calling the amphitheater. It's tiered seating, breakout space for activity and discussions, seminar, that kind of activity. And in the left upper corner, that's one of the art rooms. You'll see an illustration of that particular room. Next, there are no illustrations on the third floor, but some spaces are similar. Next, nothing's changed on the exterior except for the extent of the glass plus operable windows that have now been identified in the documents. Next. So this is the view, computer-generated view of the interior of the atrium space. You can see that, first of all, there should be a disclaimer at the bottom about the colors and materials are subject to change. And the reason I say that is because, remember, we have some alternates here. So things like ceiling, instead of the wood ceiling that you see there, could be acoustic tile. The floor that we are illustrating here is a porcelain tile that could very easily be a linoleum tile instead. So there are minor changes there. And we have ground face masonry shown on the walls, but that could be easily changed to chip with vinyl wall cover. This rendering was done before the decision for reducing the size of the skylight, but the reduction in the skylight is only about a foot. So it's roughly from a 6 foot width to about a 5 foot width. So it's not a significant change in the quality of light that you would see in the atrium. Next. So this is on the second floor. This is at the northern end of the building near the art classrooms. There's a stair that leads down, one of the egress stairs, but we have this tiered seating that's configured so that you have breakout area, discussions, that kind of activity. And it's, again, it has daylight up above. The amount of glass has been reduced a little bit, but not significantly enough to change the character of this space. And then if you go up these tiered seating area, next slide, you'll see from a view from the other side, looking back at the atrium space. You can see the stair, one of the stairs that leads through the space. And on the left side, this is just outside the art area, so there's an opportunity to have art on display at the center of the atrium. Next slide. This is a view of the cafeteria. This is as you come in from the western entrance, the after-hours entrance. Again, the colors and the materials, such as the floor tile, are subject to change. But we wanted to show you to scale a computer rendering to show you the character of the interior of the space. So this is a multifunction space, as you know. It's a space that has displays and cases that show artifacts, memorabilia that are important to the school. There's also a serving line or servery just outside the kitchen at the far end of this room. And you can see the second floor corridor at the end of this hallway, which is open to this multi-purpose room, this cafeteria. So it's really quite a dynamic interior space. Next. This is a view of the gymnasium, looking back at the bleachers. And then that wall that you see, that actually is a solid wall. It's not an operable wall. I know that's still subject to discussion by the committee, but that's the way it currently is in the design as a solid wall. We do have some glass so we can get some borrowed light from one space to the next. But that's the view. Next. So this is a view of one of the art rooms that I showed you on the plan, showing the storage areas, the furniture, which again, furniture is going to be selected later, but this is just typical furniture that you might find in an art classroom. And before we did some value engineering, we were proposing to do these vertical acoustic blades on the ceiling that you see here. Those acoustic blades are done, they're different than any other rooms in the school. We wanted to create a space that looked a little different because it's art room. So we wanted to expose some mechanical equipment up above. It just gives a more interesting ceiling. We really still would like to do this, but it was beaky out. We can bring that up in the discussion with the executive committee. Next. This is a music room, and it shows the clouds that we are proposing for acoustic treatment in this room. Again, colors and materials are subject to change, but that's acoustic material interspersed with lighting. We have acoustic treatment on that ceiling, on those clouds, plus we have acoustic treatment on the walls as well. Next. This is a view of the black box theater. You can see it's a black box. And this is an area that is going to be changed as you create different kinds of program features in the room. So it has theatrical lighting. It has a grid above the space, as you can see. So you can change that lighting. But also, next slide, as you can see, you can use it also for other kinds of functions. You can easily just open it up and bring daylight into the space as well. There's tiered seating here. It's accessible and it's acoustically treated. Next. We have two shots of the auditorium. This shot is near the stage. You can see we have a shallow sloped floor for some of the lower seating, and then a much steeper sloped floor higher on the back of the auditorium. And there's a cross aisle here, and we have proposed seating, upholstered seating, and we have proposed finishes here, but these are subject to change. What we would like to do is wood paneling, as you can see here. This is reflected in the documents that we gave to ONG for pricing. And then we also have painted walls up above that. The walls are articulated for acoustic reasons. We had our acoustic consultants, Jackie Holden, participate of this space, as well as the lighting. You can see that there are ceilings with LED lighting built in there. Again, color may be changed. There is one catwalk above the left ceiling panels. That catwalk is where you'll have theatrical lighting that students can use to highlight features on the stage. There's also side lighting on both sides. That vertical slot that you see on that wall, there's another one on the opposite wall, and that also you'll have access to that from catwalks that are behind that wall, so you can do the adjustment depending on performance. Next. This is the other vantage point. This is from higher up in the auditorium looking down. Shows you the configuration of the walls and the treatment of finishes. Probably carpet, that's what we're showing, except for certain areas that will have sealed concrete. Any questions about the interiors? The rest is just a couple of exterior shots which you've seen before.
I think you talked about that what we're seeing in these renderings is before some of the VE with the skylights for the exterior glass. Is that right?
Yes, that's correct. So the skylights, the change in skylights from like a 6 foot to 5, it's not going to be a significant change to the amount or quality of light that you're going to get. It will be a little bit dimmer, but you won't be able to tell.
When you have that shot of the interior main hallway,
Yes.
there's still glass that's along, so like I couldn't tell from the rendering if that was the teacher instruction area or the sort of middle room among the,
Right.
is that a classroom?
So that, no, it's not a classroom. So that rendering actually was done before the VE.
Yeah.
A lot of that glass.
Yeah, that's what I was trying, that's what I was trying to, as I was looking through the slide deck that was sent to us earlier, I was trying to figure out, is this including or excluding? So this is before we did some of that VE stuff.
That is correct.
And refresh my memory too, because I remember us talking about the light, the glass in the gym. I think that stayed, correct? That did not get taken out through VE.
That glass in the gym, that clear story light,
Yeah.
that still is in here. But that rendering is not correct because that glass faces north. So you're not going to get that direct light, casting light on the gym.
Because I remember that also came up, because that light going to become distracting to all.
Yeah, you won't have that.
And are there also, the other part I couldn't figure out from this rendering, is there some, what do you call them? Like, is this like this kind of a treatment here? Is that what those circles of light are in the ceiling, or is that something else?
No, actually, we have the steel trusses that span across the gymnasium, across the short dimension. And we have exposed metal perforated acoustic decking, which is has acoustic treatment. So it's not just steel decking. It actually allows for some sound absorption. It's a material that we often use in industrial or gym kind of spaces where acoustic treatment is
What
important.
are those round blue things that are on the left-hand side of the picture.
On the left-hand side, those are some skylights. Again, that was a PE item.
So that is gone. Okay, that's what I was trying to figure out from these things, what stayed and what. Thank you.
Good catch.
Richard, I just wanted to let you know, and I probably should have said this earlier, but Assistant Superintendent Kim Lynn went to an interior design showcase conference, and so there were like international speakers there and some really interesting topics like how flexible furniture and fluid spaces support student well-being. So she went to lots of sessions and she has lots of readings and photos and went to a furniture showcase. So she's really looking forward to, working with all of you and potentially presenting to the building committee at some point, some of the things that she learned about. But there were people from all across the country, facility directors, educators, interior designers, architects. So it was a really exciting conference, and we hope that it will help to inform, next steps.
Well, I appreciate that, and I'm eager to see what she learned, and hopefully she can share some of that with us as well as the committee. So Susan Pinckney from my office, who will be spearheading the effort for furniture and color selection, those kinds of things, will work closely with Kim. I'm sure Susan would like to hear all of that stuff.
What is the number that we carry for FFA?
I know for you shortly. I'm trying to remember off the top of my head because it was FF&E and technology. It was close to 5 million.
Five altogether.
Right, 5 altogether.
So somewhere in that 3 to 3.5 rings a bell. Don't quote me on that.
That's right. We also broke it out for like central office was a couple $100,000.
Yeah.
We get that number where it is.
Yeah, not so, yeah, it's part of the VE
We just get
process,
less of
none of
whatever it is
the
that we
owner
know.
contingency, none of the FF&E and technology.
Okay,
professional
that's helpful. I
development.
don't remember being on the VE log, but I feel like that number buys us less, than what we originally planned.
So you're worried about classrooms with no dust?
It's very zen, it's very zen. I'm sure they'll do a workshop on that. When you're out having.
Hopefully we won't be the ones presenting.
Right. Exactly. I hope so too.
That's all I had to present.
Any questions for Richard? Any more clarification or anything else on there?
These are very helpful as you see these to be able to absorb everything else that's either in plan or other elevations that you create.
Richard, we'll move on to construction manager.
Good evening. Just kind of filling in for Laurel tonight. We'll talk about the schedule, but I think the big picture here is that we're still on schedule. We did make some adjustments to our pre-con, kind of giving Richard Steve a little bit more time to get the documents fully vetted and updated. But we did receive the pricing set, as Richard mentioned yesterday. So our team is starting to put that estimate together. Again, it'll be the same process. We'll put the number together, sit down with the entire team, vet those numbers, reconcile the numbers, and then present to the board. Hopefully this time we don't have to do any PE or on budget, but we may have to go through that same process and just walk through. So we'll wait for again, right now that we're proceeding with our estimate, we plan on going up to the state at the end of July, actually July 26th. We've got scheduled as of right now. And we plan on bidding the second week of August. For the phase 2 work, with the anticipated construction start of October 24th. So I think based on this whole kind of reworking the PCR, going to the state a little bit later, getting the drawings completed, I think we lost probably about 12 days, I think, on the overall schedule, but the end date of construction has not changed. So we're going to start a couple weeks later. We're going to make up that time in our construction schedule, and it'll be reflected in the schedule that we present to bidders as well, so they buy into that duration. So overall, we're in a very good place now with the schedule, and once we get the days going forward, we should be in very good shape. And the only other thing I have to report on, and then we'll talk about the detailing a little bit later in the presentation. Right?
Yeah.
We did receive numbers on the enabling package, and our estimators now are going through and doing a retake off of package that was actually bid on. So we compare whatever scope was added from the phase 2 work that shifted to phase 1. We'll be able to explain that to the board. So again, overall budget wise, we're fine. We just wanted to explain why the number was larger than what we had initially carried for that case. So it's all going to be encompassing, or it's encompassed in the overall site number. But we want to break it out and show you what was in that first enabling package versus the balance of it.
So we'll back have that on the agenda.
For our next working group meeting, so this is really scope definition is what we're looking at versus the pricing that we saw versus scope, doing an apples to apples comparison,
Yes.
to making sure we're all in alignment there. Working group, or the design group will run through that in detail, and then obviously it's gonna come right back to this team to say, let's relook, let's take a look at what those numbers look like, what the scope of work is it in alignment with what our expectations were, any other adjustments we made.
Exactly. And the real way to do that is to really take off the entire job again, and that's what our estimators are doing now. So that number a little bit sooner, but I don't have to take the time. Let's get some real information to look at.
So more to come from us, from a committee perspective, to take a look. So this, again, just to make sure everybody's level set, this is the early enabling bid. If you remember, we went out to bid a little bit ago. There was 9 bids that came back.
It's great coverage.
Which is, from what I understand, is fantastic for the limited experience. So, so now we're just making sure everything's in alignment before we move forward on that steps on that. Does that make sense to everybody?
Absolutely.
Yes.
We started phase 1.
I would see July 1st. So
July 11th.
July 11th. To start? Yeah, July 11th. Yeah.
I'm getting
It's
our
interesting, I bumped into somebody today and they're like, oh, we have an event at Farmington High School. It's at the end of June, beginning of July. I'm like, where is the event? Where are you parking? Where do you think you're parking? It sounds like they're safe.
I have a question to Mark, and that has to do with, we have the PCR date that, as you reported, now it's July 26th.
We're on the schedule with the state. Yeah, it's all booked. They're anticipating us.
So before we go to the state, we will be coming back to the building committee as well as to the Board of Ed for sign-offs. It's the same process that we went to through the phase 1 enabling package. We'll bring this set here, or we'll send it by PDF or both, so that you see what we're going to be bringing to the state. And then we'll be asking for sign-offs by the building committee and by the Board of Ed. So that sign-off date needs to be scheduled. I don't know if that's indicated yet.
It is. I mean, we have a date in the schedule of July 15th.
Okay.
Between actually July 15th and July 20th.
So I know the Board of Ed may not meet in July, but this needs your sign-off.
Most likely. We'll look at everyone's schedule. I know we've had some thoughts about how to do that, make it convenient. Exactly.
Could that be a hybrid? For those that are away to jump on for an hour, just so we have, make sure we got quorums, because obviously make sure.
Yeah,
Like,
absolutely.
like Congress does it, you go around and count the votes before they. Not really.
Sure. There's jobs for that.
Yeah, so there's some coordination there we need to do and make sure, and one of the things we talked, full disclosure, is potentially maybe having a joint meeting around that. I don't know what that will do to scheduling. We're gonna do everything we can to maintain what we have. We also have to make sure that yearly makes sense for them. So we'll try to come up with the best solution for everybody, but I think the hybrid approach is gonna be our best bet.
Yep.
Making sure that we get what we need.
Sensible need. I mean, let's keep our fingers crossed that everything works the way we want it to. But if there's more time that's needed to devote to reviewing some other reductions, we got that, I feel like we got that timing built in as a contingency?
I think
For me,
one of the takeaways we had from last time was to take a look at the remainder of the summer, to try to make sure that we get back to everybody here and say, here's what we're thinking based on the schedule and looking at some of these dates. And again, our goal here this summertime is to have more meetings, but we also have to maintain the deadline. So I think that's something we still have on our list to do. It's just line all those meetings up. Are they at the appropriate time? If not, we need to add them.
And if there are Zoom meetings, then wherever we are, what other stuff. we
Yeah.
enjoy.
Any special meeting should be held across the street.
Yeah.
That's my only request. I'll meet as much as you want.
If it's Zoom, it's wherever you like, right?
I'm out.
We have to look that way and ahead of time. You can't get in over there, Don. Unless you maybe.
And I'll
like,
special
I
We know
always
that
say
I'll
Johnny's
start now.
When I drive through, Johnny's got a table, so. we just-
I know, exactly. We just have to join up there. So I think it's a good point. We just need to make sure that we're tightly aligned around the meeting. All right, any question or Mark?
Yeah, no, it's asking if there's any questions on schedule.
Yeah,
or
and
the,
the schedule, so that, that 12-day, that's obviously, that's kind of gonna be the way things are gonna forward, as always, with the timeline is adjusting, readjusting, taking a look, but always with, as you heard in statement, we were always looking for that end date to remain the same at all costs, so that's where that's where the art of it all comes in, right?
And again, we're tracking very well. The original pre-con schedule. So
Yeah.
we might have missed a few days here and there, but overall we're big, so.
Any other questions on schedule or anything? We're gonna hear from Mark again a little bit in our new business section.
May I just answer that? So on the FF&E, we've got 4.9 million school and about 200,000 for central office, so that's $5 million split. And we do have owner contingency of 6 million. The high school about 260%. Those dollars have been.
Numbers feel good.
Yeah.
I will say it's FF&E for technology.
Perfect. Any other questions, thoughts? Anything else before we move on to communications? No.
Communications met right before this meeting, and we are planning out the presentation for the June 2nd community meeting. That meeting will be taking place at 6 p.m. at the Yates Room at the police department. So we do encourage all committee members to attend. We will be going over, it's basically an update based off of our newsletter. So a lot of those Q&As that we've been seeing a lot, some on the early enabling package, on BE, on the reimbursement rate update. We think it's a good comprehensive update to bring people up to speed since the last time we had a community meeting. And we also plan on showing the renderings that Richard just presented. So again, June 2nd, 6 o'clock at the Yates Room. And it's also on Zoom.
Was in the newsletter, so everybody get their newsletter. Yes, good. And so we're promoting it there, having some updates on the website as well. So anything we can do to promote people, if we get that maybe in-person attendance might be a little tough, that's fine. Hybrid is fine too. We just like people there to listen and participate if they can. So anything we do to promote that, I think would be great. In addition to that, we are also, just as an FYI, the Rotary has asked for a update as well. So on the 31st, we'll be providing a quick update to the Rotary, about a 20-minute presentation, probably very similar to what we will present on the 2nd, just to give them an update on the timeline and next steps and where we are in the schedule. So you're going to start to see some of this community engagement ramp up as we're talking about putting shovels in the ground. I think people are going to start to get really excited. So it's good. It took us a while to get here, and we're almost there, which is pretty exciting. Is there anything else? Communications, any other?
Last meeting, we asked a question about putting schematics online. I know we had some
Yes.
really high
good
level
question. Yeah.
I know it's probably not a priority at this very moment, but what can be put on from a public safety standpoint, whether, I know Richard had given some advice on what he has seen in the past on, obviously nothing about alarms or security features, things like that. But how detailed we as a committee or the town want to really get public safety advice.
And that's exactly what we're kind of vetting in the back end to respond to that correspondence that requested that schematic design. Because exactly, they want to balance public safety at this point when the designs are getting more and more complete. We will be adding those renderings that we presented today to the website, which does, again, very high level, but it has that floor plan, it has the internal, so that will be up immediately, and then we will work to see what we can provide.
I don't know if you mentioned.
It's again in the newsletter, that we mentioned kind of that October timeframe for groundbreaking. So we've been talking about it for a while, but I think probably starting next month we'll be actually starting the conversations. So we'll start to pull in a subcommittee. So if you are interested in being part of that, a couple of people have already told me that they're interested. So if you are, please, get to Kat or myself, we'll make sure you're included on any invites moving forward on that. I know, Mark, you said you guys are willing to help us and support us in that effort. Ira as well will be part of those conversations. So we'll start that to get us prepped for, probably mid to end of October is what we're targeting, but the date is not beneficial. Can you believe it? And we're even talking about it? Every time that the word's coming out of my mouth, I'm like, I can't believe it's right there. It's been a long time. All right, any other questions or thoughts for communications? I don't believe we have anything for professional partnership, right, that we need to report out, and then financial report.
So included in your packet is an updated financial report. We haven't seen this one in a while. Just to remind everybody, we have an account that we use pre-referendum. Some things come out of this account, like we did our CSG's contract, TSKP's contract, pre-referendum out of here. Once the referendum passed, everything's been coming out of that $135 million authorization. But we do have some updates to this. Ira, Tall Timbers marketing account comes out of here, and there is an invoice that is on today's agenda for approval. So that has been updated. And then also the update is on postage that was sent out for the high school newsletter, which was just under $2,000 worth of postage. So this account on hand has just over $91,000.
That makes sense. A little bit of our different accounting. We have our invoices that we approve on one side, and then obviously the second account that we're charging. All right, excellent. So why don't we move then right into new business? So our very first order of business is G1. So can I get a motion to accept the attached invoice from Tall Timbers Marketing in the amount of $4,150?
Second.
Any discussion? You can see it's been detailed what was included in the invoice, for this is going to be newsletter. All right, all in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Motion passes. And we'll go right into new business item G2. So did I get a motion to accept the attached structural steel pre-detailing proposal? All right, I'm going to open this up for discussion. You do have content inside your agenda packet. I'm going to ask Mark, actually, if you could kind of walk through kind of the premise here, what's, just some detail to get everything kind of up to speed on.
So everybody's probably aware that we have a steel framed school, high school that we're constructing, made up of 1,000 tons of structural steel, something like that. And part of the typical process, the way it's been done for years and years, is that we would put the project out to bid, steel package, we get the number in, get a contract issued to that trade contractor, and then he would start his shop drawings. That process usually would take 3 to 4 months before you would actually see steel on the job site. So the drawings are actually, every piece of steel member is actually drawn out individually. Computers, things are done a little bit quicker, but they build a model, they draw out each piece. And then it's submitted to the architect and the engineer of record. They go through and review it. They mark up their comments on it. And typically, it would go back and forth between the architect and the engineer. Probably twice. Each sheet would be reviewed probably at least once and then rechecked. And that really just took a lot of time. And then ultimately, when you got into construction, the detailers would have a lot of questions that would be asked. And it'd be elevations, or dimensional changes, or questions. And it really just kind of draws out that entire shop drawing process, which ultimately affects the delivery of steel to the site and affects the overall schedule. What we've been doing recently, and it's probably been over the last 3 or 4 years, is pre-detailing the project. So we actually hire a steel detailer to work directly with the structural engineer prior to the project going out to bid. They produce all the shop drawings, all the piece drawings, and we make that actually part of the bid package so that the steel contractors that are bidding the job pretty much have all the detailing done already. They have their material laden sheets, they have all their shop drawings ready to go. So when they do their final takeoff, it's very accurate. There's not a lot of guessing. You're getting a lot tighter number at bid time. And once we actually start construction, those shop drawings kind of just go through the motion, meaning that the awarded contractor would take those drawings, maybe make a couple of minor changes to them, and then submit them for final review to the engineer of record, who's already looked at these drawings and has worked with the detailer through that whole process. It's a cost that is typically borne by the steel contractor, so it's part of his bid. What we're doing now is actually pulling that cost out of his bid amount, per se, and putting it in either our contractor, and a lot of times the architect would carry these fees as well for that work. What we found is that one is expedites the steel delivery to the site, and I think we had actually in our presentation early on, we had actually mentioned that because of the soil conditions, the good soil conditions we have up here, really a pretty simple foundation plan.
Right.
We're going to be needing steel up here in a very short period of time. So this is going to accelerate that delivery steel to the site. And then the other thing it does too is really it vets any issues with the design of the building, any questions that come up with detailing, with dimensions, elevations. Those are all worked out with the detailer, the engineer, and Richard's team up front. So again, once we put this set of documents out to bid, you're really getting a much more accurate number than you would if there was a lot of questions regarding the steel frame and dimensional questions and things like that. Again, it's an expense that is truly bought, whether we pre-detail it and buy it now, or we buy it as part of the bid package, costs are really the same. There's no difference between the two. We're just getting kind of a jump on the project and getting that much further ahead in the schedule. What it also does, it'll flush out any issues with any material and steel shapes and sizes. So they'll know right away whether we're having problems with tube steel, if that's a long lead item right now, or part choice. And it gives us the opportunity to make those adjustments in the front end, in the contract documents, or bid documents, before we actually put it up on the street. So it's really a kind of a win-win. We haven't had any issues. I've done this on a couple of other projects, and it just really expedited the whole process. Where we actually had steel on site, kind of waiting for the foundations to be completed to start erecting the building. So we are, asking for additional services to have it run through our contract. Again, kind of Rich and I were going back and forth on whose contract it should fall under. And just again, to expedite the process. You Richard won, yeah. So again, we think it's just a real benefit to the project. It's a cost and expense that is part of the project to begin with, whether we pay for it now or pay for it later. Again, getting a jump on the overall detailing process.
If I could piggyback on what Mark was saying, because I think for those of you who have not been through such a construction process, you may be wondering, wait a minute, we have to detail these steel connections all over again? Don't we have a structural engineer? You do. We have Michael Horton Associates, who is our consultant from New Haven. But what fabrication shops need are actual fabrication drawings. These fabrication drawings detail every piece. And if components need to be pre-drilled, because you're going to be passing pipe, sprinkler pipe, for instance, through a beam, they actually illustrate exactly where that drill hole needs to occur. And so the process of shop drawings for steel goes like this. Structural engineer does the details. He's almost done. He's ready to coordinate with a shop drawing fabricator, or fabrication drawings. But they haven't been hired yet. So, and that you're not going to hire them typically until after you go out to bid. You hire a steel supplier who is actually going to do the shop drawings. Mark is right. It is an advantage in the schedule to be able to have all of those fabrication drawings done early. And no matter who you buy the steel from, they're going to use the same fabrication drawing. So that's the principle behind what Mark is saying. I did talk to our structural engineer about whether they've had experience working with ramp drafting. They have no issues with ramp drafting if they were retained by LNG. And our structural engineer said that you could start coordinating with your detailer in June, which is a big leap forward rather than waiting until the GMP in October. It's a big difference.
So, just to add, I just want to make sure that everybody is aware that we had some additional detailed conversations at the design team level as well regarding this, and we did receive approval from all stakeholders in that meeting on this. That's why it's even in front of the whole committee tonight, or else it probably wouldn't even be here if it was something that we didn't understand or didn't think was the perfect thing to have this conversation here. But you know, I just want to make sure people, if you have questions about the process, I have a lot of questions about the process, but just because in getting a good understanding of it, that was a great explanation, Mark and Richard, the two of you kind of breaking this down for us. But just anything else that everyone else wants to understand about this, you know, they're going to be asking us to approve the proposal that we have in front of us here, and there is a price associated, but as we heard, it's a price that's basically moved from a budget perspective versus added. So I just want to make sure that everybody understands that as well.
So I'm totally in support of advancing this. I guess the only clarifying question, it might not, maybe it's helpful for the public. We go through an RFP process, what we are engaging these consultants. Because either the architect or contractor engaged them, we don't have to go through that. I wonder to what degree this is something that we deal with in the level of transparency about what we're doing and maybe not vote on it, because where will it set up that line of what are we voting on and what are we not voting on when it's their responsibility to execute on parts of their contract?
We have to add this to their contract though, because currently.
Because it's not in their
It's not
contract.
in there.
So it's not as though we're approving this group
Correct. No,
or this particular amount of money. What we're doing is we're saying it's an adjustment in their contract.
It's an add service to their contract. We did this with TSKP when we added, was it kitchen design consultant?
Correct.
A couple that
Junior
weren't in the
design,
scope of
junior
their
design,
contract. So we approved to add it and they used their subcontractor.
Right, so ordinarily, if you had all the time in the world, you would hire, you would bid the steel out. And that steel supplier would hire RAM or someone equivalent to RAM to actually do the fabrication drawings. So now you're shifting it rather from the steel supplier to the CM.
So now this is a complete technicality again, understanding I completely endorse this thing and I'll vote for whatever you want me to vote for. Should we be voting on a motion that's adding to their contract, or should we be voting to approve this proposal? And that's the
Yeah,
part
we
that
can amend, we can amend.
it doesn't matter how we do it, I just don't want
Yeah,
to,
let's be clear.
I don't want to have
Yeah,
anybody
yeah.
else come back and say, well, why aren't you voting on this, this, and this? Because we don't have to, and that's why, that's the only reason why I'm just trying to draw the distinction of what we're doing, so we don't get having somebody kind of go, why aren't you voting on all these things?
So we could amend the motion to approve structural steel pre-detailing to be added to O&G's services.
I like that. That makes sense.
I think that's more clear. Yeah, that's a good catch.
And when we do our first GMP, with this enabling phase, we're gonna put together we call it a mini GMP.
Yep.
A small portion of the overall GMP. We'll include a line item for that pre-detail in that GMP. So they're, it's spelled out clearly, and that actually what is the mechanism to actually adjust the contract. Yeah. So it'll be very transparent.
If you want to reduce 50 million from the other GMP, we call it a mini GMP. However you want to posture that. So do you want me to withdraw my motion, or do you want to have an amended motion?
That's your preference.
I
Whatever you
delightfully withdraw my motion. You,
Draw my second.
there you go. And I'll raise a motion to approve this, the structural steel detailing as an addition to the OG contract. Excellent.
All right, we'll open that up for discussion. Everybody good though with the change? I think that was a good catch. Okay,
Just because I don't want somebody
It's
saying,
clear,
when you
it's
vote,
clear.
when you not vote, when you
Yeah.
are.
But any other questions too about the process and, kind of anything else that's explained? Just want to make sure everybody's comfortable. All right, all in favor? Opposed? And with that, we have come to the end of our agenda. So could I have a motion to adjourn, please? Discussion. All in favor? Opposed?
Reservation.
All right, we are going to adjourn at 5:59. Good job.